for sexual, satanic rituals and so on. All sorts of horrible stuff that's true,
Well, there's
that
more.
nobody
We
talks
moved here.
about.
We were in hiding when we moved here. I was married. My ex-husband, now not, I remarried, but my ex-husband was actually a police officer in Lakewood, Colorado. We were married 8.5 years. Okay, so Mark's biological dad satanically, ritualistically abused him and his little brother. This started, I didn't even know anything about it. I've been a Christian since 1975. I didn't know anything about ritual abuse at all. I thought this man was so busy abusing me, he didn't have time to do anything else.
Right.
And he would take off with either one or, both the kids, usually one. And that was his way of keeping control of me and for making me do what he wanted me to do. All kinds of sick, perverted crap, But I didn't know anything about Satanism. I was never at any of the satanic rituals. This came out when Mark was in residential treatment here in Minnesota that the state filed a CHIPS petition on to get him up there for 9.5. Well, it was 10 months, actually. About a month or two before he got out, finished treatment up there, and he'd been in therapy for years. He and his brother both had. I had. We were all traumatized, My husband was, their stepfather.
Right.
And on antidepressants and, having nightmares and everything. We all developed PTSD, even though we weren't, even connected to it. It was just such a horrible thing. Finding out that your kids had been molested, finding out they'd been satanically abused. One brother didn't know that the other brother, Mark drew the pictures. He drew the pictures at the counselor's office in the treatment center, the residential treatment center. We went there every other week and had a family session with her. These pictures were laying on her coffee table. He didn't want his younger brother in there. His younger brother was having a fit on the other side of the door. And finally, Mark said, go ahead and let him in. Chris comes in, takes a look at the pictures. His eyes got like saucers, huge. Mouth hits the floor. I've been there. And then Mark's eyes get like saucers. Really? One didn't know that the other one had been there. And Chris completed the pictures. He said, you're right. This was there, that was there, this was there. And Chris actually grabbed the pen and started filling in some other things that were in there, more details.
Right.
That's how I learned about the satanic abuse. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's really prevalent. And if you look in the communities, anywhere we live, ladies and gentlemen, anywhere we live, if you can look up your sex offenders, a very high percentage of them are involved in this activity. So we know that the Catholic Church, unfortunately, and for those that are Catholics, it doesn't. Your faith in Christ and Jesus shouldn't dissuade you from the fact that darkness and evil is among us, and darkness and evil infiltrates. And in that case, there's a tremendous evil in the Vatican. It doesn't mean that your local parish priest is necessarily involved, but look how many have been caught doing this. I don't know if you're aware of this, even Diana, but do you know that during World War II there was an agreement made between Hitler and the Pope? Did you know that?
No, I wasn't aware of that at all.
All right. Well, the agreement that they made was that they would be very careful not to destroy any of the beautiful cathedrals and all of the antiquity, because of course Hitler admired all of that as well, that type of classicalism or whatever, classical. So the idea was that they would not bomb, and the truth is, with all the bombings and destruction of all of the countries, look it up. This is true. No churches were destroyed. No Roman Catholic churches were destroyed, except in the Netherlands, and I believe it was in Denmark. It's definitely.
Wow.
And here's what happened. It was an accident. So they got one. And when they were doing the restoration, beneath the altar of God was a satanic black altar.
Mm.
And
Amazing.
well, again, so it was built below. Now the Masons, again, it goes back to this whole thing, built these churches. Now the reasons that they didn't want to destroy these churches, first of all, because they were 800 years old, whatever, however many years old some of these churches were, right? That old and historic. But the truth lies in the fact that there is actually altars beneath some of those Gothic churches, or maybe all of them, or a certain number of them. And that's proof of it, that it exists. And that's just one of the stories that nobody ever talks about. It's verifiable. It happened. There's pictures and stuff, but nobody pays attention. Then while their children are being abused as they send them to Catholic school. Now, my son went to 12 years of Catholic school, and certainly we were aware of the potential for any of that kind of nonsense going on. But it really does a good justice to turn people away from God. I think that's really the purpose of it more than anything else. It's and interestingly enough, go back to the CIA. I actually have the book behind me. Oh, am I lucky? Did you ever hear of something called Operation Often?
Operation what?
Often.
Often? No.
Operation Often was a CIA operation in 1972, where the CIA actually hired Satanists and psychics, and they were doing research into mind control. And it was all part of MK Ultra. It's a sub project, and we're getting to the meat of it. And people like high Satanists. What was her name? Oh, I'm trying to find the actual spot in the book here. Oh goodness, Sybil Leek. Okay, that's her name. I got to find the thing. Well, anyway, Sybil Leek was one of the people they talked about, and I know the statistics better than I have to read it verbatim. And what she did was she revealed to Sidney Gottlieb and the CIA, who were interested in this. They were they really wanted to delve into this. That there were 5,000 covens in operating at that time in the United States. And we gave the subsets of them and everything else. And the whole thing with the Manson family and this whole connection starts coming closer when we start talking about that. But I don't want to get on tangents. But it's all really connected. And what happened with Operation Often was they actually were trying to use black magic to obtain, intelligence information and to try to manipulate people's minds and do all sorts of stuff. And it really has been, the Nazis the CIA is really just Nazis that came into our government through Operation Paperclip. That's been on record.
Yes.
That's really what it is. And this is a great example because what they also wanted to do, and this is what's going to chill you to the bones, is that Sidney Gottlieb said he wanted to make, and the goal of Operation Often, which is still it's actually flourishing more than ever, still on operation, was to actually legitimize evil, or better yet, to put it as he said, was to make the devil respectable. And hasn't that happened since 1972? It's very, very interesting. It's all on record. It's all provable. It's all. Don't believe me, ladies and gentlemen. Do your own research. Find your own truth. But that's a fact. Yeah.
Yes. Dr. Marquis, I listened to him, and he was talking about, it's on YouTube. Anyway, he was talking about, because he's an ex-Satanist, and he was talking about how he was part of a coven. Okay, he came out of a very satanic family, bloodlines. And he was telling me that when he was finally, at a place where he had his own coven, their mission, their assignment was to infiltrate the United States military, which they did.
Oh yeah, Mike
And
Porcino is a good example of that right there. You know, obviously they're deeper into that, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
hmm so the thing, and you can look this up online. You can go there and see for yourself. He gave the web address and so on and so forth. You know, the United States Military Handbook for 1972, I believe it was.
Interesting.
And
Operation
they
Orphan, same
changed.
year.
Yes, the Satanists were allowed to have their rituals. They were allowed to, and they were supposed to get as high up in the military as they could, befriend, you know, and get these people involved in their covens, and so on and so forth, which they did, and they were quite successful at it, as he explained, and to so that they could have their rituals right there in the military, on the military property. Every branch of the military.
A private. Oh yeah, that's what they.
Satanic priests, satanic rites, satanic rituals, satanic sacrifice, all of it in our United States military. That's where it started with the military, that they were given the right to do that.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. And you know, it really is true. But then you have the pop culture connection there as well. Obviously, we've gotten this whole changing towards, you know, everything's evil. I mean, evil is cool. You know, it's cool to be evil. You know, evil. You know, it doesn't. Oh, don't go and kill anybody like on the surface. You know, but they don't realize the subtext of that and how that affects.
And how many people are they really killing? They're killing all these babies, these brand new babies. I mean, they're breeding babies for sacrifice.
Oh, absolutely, no doubt.
I couldn't believe it. You know, it took me many years to make this connection, because when I learned about the Satanism, I didn't know anything about Satanism, so I had to learn. And my son, Mark, when he was really, I mean, he's in diapers.
Well, that's the thing. Since you opened this, actually, Diana, we talked about this. I'm very glad that you did decide to discuss this, because initially you said you wouldn't. And I'm glad you did, because what's very important to understand is that, you know, you didn't even know. You didn't know.
I had no
while
clue.
It was happening. You didn't know. So that just shows how evil and deceptive it truly is, and that your own husband could be doing these horrible things to your children.
My husband, my brother-in-law, my mother-in-law. Yeah, my own mother was involved in it. Yeah, it was really atrocious. And quite a shock to learn that. I mean, I almost had a nervous breakdown when I found out about it.
You married into a satanic family, is what you did.
Well, yeah, I did, and without even an Illuminati family, I didn't even know it. Didn't even know it. I was completely in the dark about it. But here's my baby that's going around sticking everything he can into light sockets, and I'm wondering, what is up with this shocking business? Why does he like being shocked? You know, what is up with that? Why is he doing this? And constantly, you know, having to watch him. And then later, years later here, about 4 years ago, I learned that that's a part of their programming. They shock them. They shock them.
No, they absolutely do. That's part of MK Ultra. They would give like 100 electroshocks or like 70 electroshocks, and then quell the anxiety with the drugs that they gave your son. You know, like all of these these to quell the anxiety.
Yeah, Ativan or Valium or whatever.
Heavy stuff like that, like heavy, you know, like Thorazine and stuff like that. You know, crazy shit. But
he was just a tiny baby, and this was going on. This started. I brought him home from the hospital 3 days later. Had him laying on the couch because the staff was trying to get me to do something I didn't want to do. I didn't want any part of it, you know. It was abusive, very abusive, sexually abusive stuff that he wanted me to do. And so I'm trying to have a quiet conversation with him just right around the other side of the wall in the bedroom. And I hear this god-awful sound, and nobody's in the house but the three of us. The baby's asleep. He's all cuddled up. You know how you take a newborn baby and you've got him in the blanket and you've got him all snuggled up real tight. And hear this terrible noise. He runs in before me, and it knocked him back against the wall in the hallway. And I went in the name of Jesus Christ and took authority and I could see the room actually looked longer than it was. There was this big, thick, yellow mist all in the room. My son was turned completely around on the other end of the couch.